I'll start with the roll call here. Steve Bodnar.
Here.
Joe Cassidy.
Here.
George Dick.
Here.
Jerry Hathaway. Jim Moffett here. Bob Morris. Here. I think that does it. We have a couple of just minor changes to the agenda that you have in front of you. Jerry Hathaway is unable to be here because he was diagnosed with pneumonia the other day. I believe he is listening in but not participating, the latest word I had from Jerry. Also, the city manager is out of town. He was supposed to give the report on the Safe Streets and Roads application grant. Steve, will you be able to talk to that a little bit?
Yes, I will.
Down the line?
Yes, sure, Jim.
Okay. Also, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the next subject, the selection of committee chairperson and secretary, and why that's on the agenda.
Sure. The reason that is on is under pursuant to city resolution, each of the committees on a yearly basis are to name the chairperson and secretary. So candidly, I think with our group, I'll specifically address the chairperson. I think it's merely a formality. I think Jim's done a great job as far as being chairperson, indicated a willingness to continue in that role, which as the liaison, but also just a member from liaison from City Council, but member of the community. Appreciate all you've done, Jim. So, regarding your position, the chairperson, I would gladly nominate you to be chairperson for this coming year, and continue in that role. I know. I'll just address for a moment, we're also required to have the same vote for the secretary. I think Jerry's done a great job with that. I think maybe we would want to defer that until Jerry is here. I think Joe's graciously agreed to take notes for us and perform that function for today, but I'll leave it up to you, Mr. Chairman, as far as whether we should defer that vote for Jerry being here or not. I don't think there's no downside to us doing it at a subsequent meeting. But the reason we're doing it because that's what resolution requires us to do. So as I said, I'm nominating you, Mr. Moffett, as our chairperson to continue for 2026.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's wise to defer until next month our selection of Jerry again as secretary. He's done a great job in the past several months, and I accept the nomination as chairperson going forward in 2026.
Okay. So do you want to put that to a vote?
Okay. All in favor of Jim Moffett being chairperson for 2026?
Yes. Yep.
Oppose? No.
That's
Okay.
good, because I wrote down unanimous before they voted.
All right. And I agree, and very proud and honored to have the responsibility for a very, very good committee here. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm going to jump ahead. We have a guest here, Tony, engineer from West Cape May, who you made a presentation, I think, within the last couple of weeks over at West Cape May in regard to the project. So that's one of our key issues going forward as far as the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee goes. So if you take some time now, and if George wants to pitch in with your wisdom, we would appreciate that as well. Attorney, I turn it over to you.
Thank you. So we're still in the conceptual phase, so we just met with the HPC at a pre-application meeting last week. We've reviewed it with the mayor of both the previous mayor and obviously George, and Mayor Mullock has seen it as well. We kind of landed on, I handed out a proposed bridge style packet to you. It'll generally look like this, like with an arch style bridge, but if you switch to page 3, the last page of the packet, that's most like what's going to probably end up being their design element wise, with the bridge abutments, the color, the camber, everything. So aesthetically, that's probably gonna be what it's most like. And I put a plan in front of you. I could go over generally some design elements that we're looking at for bicycle safety. So the approaches are both going to be ADA compliant. It's a 10-foot wide multi-use trail, so it'll be for bicycle and pedestrian access. It'll be built to AASHTO standards, and we will incorporate some kind of bollard, maybe 1 or 2 bollards on each end of the bridge to stop any low-speed vehicles, golf carts, anything like that from approaching the bridge, because it is just for pedestrians and bicycles use only. The whole path isn't proposed to be illuminated or anything. When I talked to my design team yesterday, possibly put like an LED solar bollard top, something, just so that nobody runs into them, something
That probably makes sense.
to talk about.
Nothing on the bridge, though.
Nothing on the
No.
bridge.
We don't want any,
yeah.
we don't want it lit up at night.
No.
For multiple reasons,
Yeah.
homeowners and then also birds,
Yep. Nope, dark skies and everything.
dark skies, yep.
So for the bicycle committee, I don't know if how much width you guys would prefer. We definitely want the approach to be safe for any bicycle crossing, but we don't want people flying over this bridge either.
Yeah, and one of the comments that we had during some of our Board of Commissioners meetings is, oh, people are coming flying off this bridge because their vision of the bridge was it's a bridge, an arch. The camber is less than a foot. So it's basically a flat bridge, and that's why I think Tony pointed out the last one, because some of them of the pictures, and remember, these are just renderings, they're not the actual bridge. It looks like it's gonna be closest to the one on the last page 3. But you can look at some of the other pictures and see how, like, for example, the picture on page 2 is extremely, the larger bridge over that dam there is very, very little camber, and that's kind of the effect you're going to get. You're also not going to get, in the first picture, that looks like a bunch of stone as the
Yeah.
abutment. The first picture on page 1, that looks like stone. That is not what the abutments are going to look like. They're going to look more like the one on the back page,
On page 3.
on page 3, which are somewhat covered in snow.
It'll be a concrete abutment with concrete piers on piles, yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to make that clear, and since this is being shown and people can view this, I want to make sure everybody's really clear, these are renderings. This is not the actual bridge. These were the plans that went to the HPC to look at. We don't have an HPC, that's not in our Historic Preservation Committee, Commission area. It is for Cape May. They've reviewed it. We're going to go back to them for final approval on that.
And George, if I recall, Tony, I know you were at that meeting.
Yep.
In general, they were very favorable as far as the bridge itself, made some very minor suggestions as far as perhaps, I think maybe a discussion just as far as what the decking materials
Yeah,
are going to be,
exactly.
railing. Think some of the concerns that were discussed, which were already being addressed, were the bollards as well, just with that. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add as far as HPC's comments that aren't reflected necessarily in here or not, just so the members here have a full flavor as far as where the discussion's going.
Yeah, thank you. The HPC mostly talked about incorporating some kind of wood element. So I talked to my design team yesterday asking for ipe wood. It's like a very strong, dense wood for the decking itself. And they said that's getting harder and harder to get. That's actually out of South America. So we'll reach out to the manufacturer and make sure that's feasible. And I'll have probably a better answer by the time we get in front of the Cape May City Council and the HPC for their official application. That was their main concern.
What is the trail out to Mount Vernon Beach? Is that, the railings are wood, what is the decking on it? Is that's,
Trex?
it's Trex.
It's-
So
yeah.
I would think that we could consider doing the same kind of, and it's just for maintenance and availability of the material. That material will cost way more than Trex will. I mean, significantly more.
Yeah, I know it was a discussion point. I'm not sure, and I'm sure Tony, HPC I'm sure that'll be a subsequent conversation. I think, I know they wanted to just more information along those lines. So I think we're all headed in the same direction, though, with, ultimately with this. I mean, things that jump out to me, George, just what you had touched on, the level as far as with the bridge. I think that's a significant issue. When we look in terms of, one, not just getting, people back and forth between Cape May and West Cape May in a safe way, but part of that being the fact that it's not going to be an arced bridge. The bollards as well, from a safety standpoint. My understanding is they're going to be removable bollards too for any type of, for purposes that would need to be removed. But, in and of itself, I mean, just looking at it as well, it's a really nice design. It's a really nice looking bridge. And I think, my sense is, personally looking at this, I think it's going to be something that's going to fit in well with the landscape there.
I was thinking personally it's going to look awesome. I mean, right now you have two sides of a lot that are overgrown with Phragmites, and Phragmites are not an invasive species, but to the level that they're there, they are invasive. So we needed to talk about what we do with that, how we landscape it. I think it'll be a beautiful addition. I mean, if you go by there now, it's just a lot. This will be, and I think that I told you guys previously, we have people in West Cape May, and I'm hoping that we can add some Cape May people that are willing to do landscaping and maintain, friends of the bridge, if you will, at least on our side. We'll see if they want to do your side too, but I think maybe we can get another group on the other side.
Yeah, look, I see that happening.
Yeah, I do too.
Short-
I mean,
short and
everybody,
simple.
I mean, it could look spectacular. And I think that, a lot of the concerns that are out there, I understand them. But I think once this is all in place, a lot of those concerns will be alleviated, so.
Just to touch on George's point, it looks like a lot, but it is actually a paper street, so it's not even a block or a lot.
Yes,
It's literally right away on each side for West Cape May and the city of Cape May. It's actually a paper street to be developed in a way.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions for you, or I'll package them all in one. What is the timeline schedule for going from where we are here today
Yeah.
till it's completed, the construction is completed and it's usable for the public? And tied into that, what is the plan as far as funding goes? And what's the plan as far as funding goes?
Yeah. So to touch on your first point, we're probably targeting the end of this year, best case scenario for construction, to have it complete. The big fly in the ointment right now is we're just vetting all the conceptual, getting a permit-ready package to submit to DEP once we have the buy-in from HBC, from yourselves, from all the commissioners. Once everybody's on the same page, we would submit to DEP, and they have 90 days statutorily, so that's 3 months, and they always ask for a 30-day extension, so call it 4 after we submit that package. And then there's some back and forth for some revisions to get those permits in hand. Then we have to go out to bid, call it another month. So as soon as we decide on all the design elements and everything, it's probably 6 months to even get it out to bid, and then, a 1 or 2 month construction time period, depending on manufacturing. A lot of times these bridges come 1 or 2 pieces from Minnesota is usually where they ship it from, on the back of a flatbed, believe it or not. And then they'll crane it in. So the construction isn't a ton of time. It's mostly clearing and driving the piles for the abutments is most of the construction, to be honest. Funding-wise, the Borough of West Cape May has spearheaded a lot of the funding opportunities. What really kicked this off was the local recreation improvement grant from the DCA. They got an $85,000 grant to fund a lot of the preliminary design, geotechnical analysis, all of that to get us to this point. There is going to be another phase that needs to be done for this, the permitting that is talked about, and final design elements and going out to bid and all of that. But to fund the construction and construction inspection and contract administration, the rest of that piece of the project has been, we believe, completely funded by a $700,000 grant from the local aid infrastructure fund, which is a discretionary fund from the DOT.
DOT,
Yeah.
JDOT, yeah.
Yep. So there's a good amount of grant money. I believe there's some capital funds, if necessary, from the city of Cape May and the borough to tie any pieces together, but it's almost essentially completely covered by grants at this point.
Yeah, there are a few items that the grant won't cover, and the agreement is that we'll split it. West Cape May and Cape May will split that amount. It should not be significant. I know that you guys had in your budget $165,000.
It won't be.
That was based on only getting an open spaces grant, which would have been half the amount. It would have been $350,000. That's where the 165 basically came from. So there are some things that the grant doesn't cover that will, and as Tony says, the majority of this should be completely covered.
Yeah, and that's, look, I know you worked very hard to get that, and that's a key piece, of the project. So, I mean, talk about a win-win, that the fact that such a large piece of the funding is going to be covered by way of the grant. So, yeah, it's glad we're in a position to keep moving forward.
Well, clearly West Cape May is taking the lead on this from all aspects.
This guy right here. Yeah.
There. Is there any participation from the city of Cape May? And if so, what is it as far as helping to apply for grant money, having a say in, yeah, this design's right, or this type of landscaping should be there?
Well, I think that's what first step was the HPC. Like I said, we don't have an HPC for that area.
Right.
And so that's actually pushed the timing back at, a month or so. But in terms of the landscaping, I know you guys were interested in talking about fences. We're going to go to our neighbors on both sides and talk to them about how we can help them feel comfortable with the project in terms of landscaping and in terms of potentially putting fences on both sides of the property, which is not an super expensive thing, but it can be done. And I know that you guys have talked about that too.
Yeah, and I can touch on that as well. The discussions as far as with the bridge, it's been a fluid conversation between West Cape May and Cape May regarding this particular project. West Cape May has taken the lead as far as with the design work, as well as with the permitting and the grant work, which we're appreciative that West Cape May has done that. The conversations have been ongoing. City manager has been involved in these discussions. As Tony and George both said, they've gone before the HPC to have a discussion with them regarding the design concept of the bridge. We're having these conversations here as well. So the details and the overall project are something that, the aspect that, so Cape May is contributing to this to address the elements that are, one, on the city side of the bridge, but also to ensure that this is a seamless project between the two communities.
Yeah, and we certainly have appreciated the support from Paul and from Mayor Zach and Steve. Obviously, when you're doing a project like this, you have people have lots of questions, and they've been real helpful spreading the word about what we're trying to do here. And so that's been really good from a standpoint of working together.
Good. Glad to see the cooperation's
One thing on your timeline, have you taken in, Cape May has a moratorium on pile driving the summer months, so I would hate to see that.
Yeah, well, we would be trying to do this in the summer. It'd be too busy on
And we're-
First Ave alone.
Basically, yeah, and basically on the timing, we're not going to be able to have this ready before the fall. So it actually might work out perfectly. We'll get approval, and we'll do it, maybe late fall. And so it'll be ready for the following season. And us, people who live here and run every day and walk our dogs, we can use it all winter and test run it for everybody.
Okay. Any other questions from things?
So, best case scenario, when would the actual final project be completed? Just,
Late fall, this time next year, a year from now, we'd be buttoning up ribbon cutting.
The Christmas
pre-season,
We could decorate it for Christmas and have a little celebration.
Chamber of Commerce will have it right on.
Exactly. Actually, would be kind of cool, huh?
Take the parade route through there.
That's a good idea. One of the other things, from a bicycle standpoint, and it's related to the bridge, we have a project right now that's going to start soon, that's running down First Avenue, which is from where Exit 0 is and the Shore House Canna is, that street. We're redoing that, we're doing all the drainage, we're doing all the markings on that. So that will have sharrows on it. It will, the one side of the street has basically three parking spots. We're probably going to eliminate them. So one side of the street will be completely accessible to anybody going down there. And then the next step, hopefully when they start Sunset Boulevard, we're hoping for an elevated intersection so that people can cross over with, press the button, you get a flashing light. I'd rather have a traffic light for the summer, but that's not going to probably happen. And then we're going to look at ways we can get a grant to do all of Pacific Avenue, which is the route from west side, as we talked about this a lot, from the west side of West Cape May. And then once Sunset Boulevard's finished, and Steve and I will actually walk this, they're going to have an off the roadway, bike path and walking path right at Shore House Canada. That's where it starts. And that's the intersection that would be raised. And we're trying to tie it all into the bridge. So people from the point could go down, go across the bridge, they can get down to Beach Avenue without having to deal with anything. So we have a larger picture here. A lot of people focus on the bridge because it's a relatively costly structure, but it's paid for by grants, which is our tax money anyway. And we're looking at the whole island and how we can tie people to different places. And I think once we have that bridge, that gives us an opportunity to get people down at Beach Avenue, get people into Cape May on the bike lane there too.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
Anything else on this topic?
I think it's a great project. It's been too many years.
Thank you, Tony.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Tony, thank you very much for taking the time to come today. Appreciate it. George, thanks for arranging for Tony to be here as well. So, and all the work that you've done on this, really appreciate it.
Yeah, Tony downplayed his role in this. He knew that we had been talking in this group about this bridge. I've been talking about this bridge for 10 years. I think that, Tony and his team really did a nice job helping us with the grants and all that, so they need a thank you also.
I appreciate it. Look
Excellent.
forward to getting this project actually built. That's the next step.
Good luck going forward.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
If you have
Tony.
any questions, George has my contact. I could leave that with any one of you. Again, it's conceptual, but
Okay.
it's,
Hold on to the end of the meeting, so everybody has an opportunity to take a look at it if they want to. Make sure it gets back to you.
I'll take it back to you.
So,
Perfect.
Okay,
Sounds
all right,
good.
thank you.
yep.
Tony, what's your last name again?
Chadwell, Chadwell, Well.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a lot,
you.
buddy.
Appreciate
See
it.
you.
Just continuing on old business, the city manager was going to give I was hoping the city manager would give a report on this City of Cape May's application for a grant on safe streets and roads, which would be available to us. But instead of the city manager, Steve, I asked if you would do this. You seem to be pretty knowledgeable on what's going on.
Sure. Well, what I would like to do is, I'll say this. Unfortunately, yeah, Paul's unavailable today, so it would be, I'm sure we can get him to come to our next meeting. I would ask him to come to our next meeting to provide more information. But I do want to provide this information. So, the Cape May had applied to the United States Department of Transportation for a grant for the Cape Island pedestrian and bike plan to be reviewed. And unfortunately, we received word back that our grant application, the city's grant application, was not approved for this coming year. Yeah,
I'm sorry, Steve, can I ask you to repeat what the application was for?
yeah, it was for the Cape Island pedestrian and bike plan. And it was grant funding to, to review that plan and to, for steps for implementation. And if that, what we're doing is we need that plan to be able to move forward with other improvements. We were seeking, I believe, approximately $200,000 through that particular grant application.
Excuse me, so you're saying we applied for $200,000?
Yes, that's correct. So we applied for a grant. It's approximately $200,000. I don't recall the exact number, but $200,000. The grant has been denied. We have asked for, there's not an appeal process, it's denied, but there is a process that you can get an explanation, a debrief as far as with the process. So
Is that
we.
from the state? I'm sorry.
This is from the federal government, United States Department of Transportation. I've asked the city manager to schedule a debrief with the US DOT so they can give us feedback on the application, for the city to have that feedback. The city has been invited to apply for the grant again next year. I would say this in the notice that the city received in the denial, they did indicate that there was a significant interest in the grant monies that were available for this round of funding. 75% of the applications were not approved. So, look, just based off the percentages, those aren't great numbers, So we were in the 25% that was not approved. They anticipate that there's going to be approximately $1 billion available the next year in funding. Again, that's information provided by the US DOT. So that being said, we're going to go through the process of getting the debrief, and I would like to have the city manager come to a bike and pedestrian meeting, and he intended on being here today, but for a scheduling conflict, to just discuss what can be done to try to move forward. So that's the unfortunate update that I have to provide regarding that particular grant application.
Well, from what I can see, our plans to start working on these prioritized infrastructure projects that the consulting firm presented last year to us. That work is going to be minimized. I believe the city manager has put approximately $125,000 in the city budget, which has not yet been approved. So instead of, let's say, if we had gotten the $200,000 grant, instead of $325,000 or so, we're back to $125,000 of money to work with ourselves. You know, and it's, honestly, in the overall scheme of things, that's not a whole lot of money to do the things we're looking at doing, which get up into the, if we were to do everything, and we obviously couldn't do everything, but we'd be talking about the millions of dollars. So, yeah, a bit of a setback to us here. I think if we continue just to look at grants as our way of going forward, we're not going to be able to accomplish a whole lot unless we get a lot more fortunate than we did this past year in getting grants. So we need, in my opinion, to be looking maybe a little bit more internally at the budget if we're going to get any improvements done regarding the infrastructure projects that we all feel we need will be improvements to the city, to the residents, to the visitors of Cape May in the coming years. So we have a challenge in front of us from a financial standpoint as far as moving forward. I'd like to see if we can maybe get some, in between now and the next meeting, honestly, to have a session with the city manager to get his thoughts, and I'd be happy to take that responsibility. Anybody else who'd like to join me in that conversation, I'd welcome your help and your assistance. Thoughts about this little bit of a setback right now with the grant being denied, and also if 75% of the applicants were also denied, that means there's going to be a lot of competition next year for these big pot of money to go up. And there's certainly no guarantee that we're going to be approved for whatever we submit next year. May or may not get that. And we could have a lot of discussion about that in the months coming forward.
So Jim, what I would just add is I think it's a good suggestion. I think having a conversation with the city managers would be beneficial. So look, we can talk about how to arrange that and make that come together.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd appreciate your help with that. That's Steve. And you know, as you think about this in the coming days or so, if you'd like to join me, just let me know. Anything else on the grant application, Steve, or anybody else? Your thoughts?
Nothing from me, Jim.
Okay, we can then go to the e-bike legislation update, which Jerry Hathaway was preparing to give a presentation on. As you know, Jerry's unavailable because of his diagnosis of pneumonia. So I just have a thought or two I'd like to pass along. I think we all got a copy of the proposed legislation at the state level going forward. Steve, you sent that out maybe 2 weeks ago or so to us. I glanced at it. I don't know if anybody else had a chance to glance at it or read it. It is pretty heavy duty as far as absorbing everything that's in there. My take is I'd like to ask every committee member to take a good hard look at that between now and the next meeting so that we're at least aware of what the state is thinking about as far as really their first legislation of e-bikes. I understand, this is from Jerry in a conversation a week or two ago, that there are opposing groups opposing it, who are advocacy groups for e-bikes. and they have their reasons. I'm not sure, as a matter of fact, I am sure, I don't know, I don't understand what they all are. But there's going to be a tug of war in Trenton over the next couple of weeks or months as far as trying to get some legislation through. And it'd probably be a political football there from what I can see coming up. Also, you should have received an update on what the city of Cape May is doing as far as the ordinance that was passed at the December meeting. I see it as a first step. It was written and designed to be in conjunction with what Lower Township ordinance, which was passed last summer, and I think it's a West Cape May ordinance that is now in effect in that community. So they're very similar by design. But again, I see that just as the first step in coming to grips with how can we make it safer for the community, both e-bike riders, pedestrians, traffic vehicles, et cetera, because there's a lot of ideas being passed along. And I would, if you want to really get into this a little bit, there is a lot of information if you just go out and Google e-bikes and then e-bike legislation, e-bike statistics, and things like that. It's so I'll just leave it at that without trying to explain all the different things that are out there. But if you want to become knowledgeable on the subject, and I do, and Jerry already is, that take a few minutes or maybe a few hours even to go out there and see what the issues are, what some best practices are, what the advocacy people feel is good and not so good about e-bikes and the e-bike legislation across the country. So my homework assignment to each of you is read and try and understand what's going forward at the state level as far as this legislation, both from the people that drew up the legislation and the groups that are opposing it. Thoughts from you all around the table?
I have been following quite a bit and since I'm an e-bike rider. The law that the governor proposes would make sure everybody had registration, license plates, and insurance. And I don't think they're all bad things right there. I think that's a good thing. But what he does is he lumps all the e-bikes into one category, and that's where most of the pushback is coming. You know, if you get your child, well, a child shouldn't have an e-bike, but a bike that'll go 40 miles an hour should not have to pay the same insurance as a bike who can't go more than 15. And, it would just be not fair to have the burden everybody doing it and a cost factor. So, but that's the main crux of it all. They want a one-size-fits-all, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. And plus, they don't include scooters or the little skateboards that go 25, 30 miles an hour. So they're not even included. And that to me is in the same category.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of wrestling yet to do.
Yeah. And the other part of e-bike going forward, that I would like us to pursue is, number one, on the education line, and how can we get the schools involved, because a lot of this pertains to teenagers, and well, I'm not sure about pre-teenagers, but 12, 14, 16-year-olds riding these, and then also enforcement. And if we have legislation out there, how can we enforce this and the thoughts from the various police departments around the community. So I kind of have those two items in regards to e-bikes on our agenda to discuss and get more information on going forward. Anything else, Steve, on that?
No, you summed it up, Jim. I mean, I think we've had discussions about that. I think that's a focus of in part, what we're working on at this time of year, focus for, for the year. So we'll continue working on that. I don't have anything else to add, Jim.
Okay. Before we get to new business, I skipped over a line item here, approval of September, October, and November minutes. And I have a copy of them with me here. Again, I looked at them, and I think they're absolutely fine. They capture in some good detail what Jerry did in putting these minutes together, but we're obligated to have minutes and then have the minutes approved. So does everybody feel they're familiar enough with the minutes or trust Jerry enough that we can approve these today for September, October, and November?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, consider the minutes from the BAPAC meeting in September, October, and November as approved. Move on to new business. Bob, I'm going to ask you, you gave me some little notice about a sidewalk issue.
Okay.
Can I
Yeah,
turn it-
since we're a pedestrian
Yep.
advisory committee here, this is on Park Boulevard between Congress and Perry Street. And it's been around, it's been this way for many, many, many years.
The guide wires.
But they're building a house right now on a piece of property right now, so now's the time to address it. But if you'll see in the middle of the sidewalk, they have guidelines for the telephone poles. There's all sorts of things. I never realized it was a problem until I had to push a double stroller with a backpack chair on my back, and you have to hop off the curb and get into the street and then back up again. And it's really a lawsuit staring the city in the face. So, I mean, while all the construction's going on there, now would be a perfect time to remedy it. And I just want to get it to the proper people. And they said, when we talked about what our duties were here, Mr. Dietrich said to bring it up in a meeting and then present it to him, and then he will present it. So I'm going,
But well, it's on the agenda now, and this is in Cape May, it's not
this is
West
Cape May, yeah. Yep, it's right down the street from the VFW,
Yeah.
across the street from the dentist. And I don't know,
So- Just for clarification, Park Boulevard, doesn't it start at
it starts at Grant Street
Grant Street?
and then goes all the way
You mentioned
to,
Congress, I don't know,
right.
so,
But it's on the,
Yeah, there's two blocks of Park Boulevard in Cape May, and then it turns to West Cape May.
And this is part of the 2 blocks.
This is, you're right, there is 3, you're correct.
Yeah.
This is a spot I go by every single day when I run, and cross the intersection at Perry, right there, and you have to be on that side of the street or you die. That's where the roundabout is planned to go.
Pass that.
right.
One thing
But
I
that's
actually,
also, that part of sidewalk is where the crosswalk is. So we're directing the people to go down the sidewalk. So it's,
yeah, because you want to cross Perry going to the taco place.
Yep.
Rather than on the other side where you're in no man's land.
Yeah. And these are anchored right in the middle of this, of the
Yes.
sidewalk.
Yeah.
actually, the concrete was poured around this,
What came first, the poles or the sidewalk?
Poles. So they just went around them.
but while they're, building a house there, it was always a vacant lot. It was always a lot tied into that little house in the back.
Yeah.
But those people have left.
Okay.
And they're developing it, and I don't know how many units they're putting in, but,
Yeah, that was an empty lot for a long time.
yep.
Okay.
since you brought that street up, I want to mention that the roundabout is still a project that's out there, potentially next year, next winter. Park Boulevard is the extension, so when you come across the bridge into West Cape May from Lower, you're in Lower, there's a bike path on both sides of the road. When you hit Ducky's and the campground, that intersection, you're supposed to turn left, and the bike path continues on Central Avenue and then to Park Boulevard, which gets you down Park Boulevard, it'll go about around the roundabout and to that road. One of the things that I'd like this group to consider for Cape May is putting either bike lanes or sharrows on that section of Park Boulevard and Grant, which takes you right down to the beach. So when we talked about this before, I always said there's two ways you can get to the beach from West Cape May or even from Lower. One will be down Pacific across our new bridge, and two will be coming down Seashore, Broadway, left on Central onto Park, which already has bike lanes around the roundabout, Grant, Park Boulevard, Grant, and goes right to where the lifeguard station is.
Yep.
And so that, but right now, there's no markings at all. It's a very lightly trafficked road. It is something that, I feel safe running on with my dog all the time, and so it is a connector
Yep.
down to the beach.
And they only have parking on one side of the street.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you think the next step should be? Again, bring it to the attention of the city manager that we see this as a priority item? Steve?
So I think we, look, we already anticipated that we're going to have the city manager come to our next meeting. I think these are issues, obviously, that he needs to hear. I'd like to share this, this particular issue, because what I'm seeing here is, and Bob, you're saying that there's an opportunity to address this here and now, but based off of the construction that's going on. So because there may be a time element here, I'd like to, bring this to his attention. The other aspects of it. Look, I think there are issues that, we need to have Paul in the room to have a discussion with him. So I think I know we're going to be building an agenda. We already have some, at least one other issue for when he's here for our next time. And I would suggest that we add this conversation to that for from when we have Mr. Dietrich here. And in part because then we can all participate, the entire committee can participate in the conversation with him.
Okay. Good.
So that being said, I would just note, since I think we're kind of on the topic of new business, one of the matters I think you'll be addressing, Jim, is when BAPAC will be meeting again. So this, Bob, I'm not going to let this wait until our next meeting. I'll bring this up to him right now.
Yeah, that's why I think it's important to have a meeting with the city manager before the next meeting. Otherwise, nothing gets done in the next month.
Yeah, next thing you know, it's.
And I was going to wait to the end of this meeting, but I'm going to suggest we have a February meeting back to our schedule of the second Wednesday of February, which I don't have my calendar in front of me, but
That would be February 11th.
February 11th. Okay. So why don't we note that, unless anybody objects, that we'll have a meeting February 11th.
Just for note, I will be out of town in February and March.
Okay. Well, if you can join in
Yep, I will.
remotely, that would be great. Also, on new business, George, you brought it up, the roundabout. I was under the impression that was going to start like
Yeah,
around
we
now.
were also under the impression it was going to start in 2011. It seems to always get pushed back. So I'm going to have a meeting this quarter with Bob Church to get an update on it. But the earliest it would ever happen would be next winter, and we'll see about that.
Okay. What's the reason for the delay? Is it funding, or is it just?
A lot of different things. It is not the county is actually funding it. There's not grant money for it, so I think that has a lot to do with it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's something that needs to happen. I mean, it's just a horrible intersection.
Yeah.
And now that we have much more traffic here over the last 10, 15 years, there's really a need. I'm really surprised that there aren't.
Especially year-round, it's crazy there.
Yeah, it's such a hard intersection to navigate, so it's needed.
Yeah.
And I think everybody agrees with that. It's just a matter of getting it. The big holdup for a number of years was, in order to do it correctly, we needed to work out an agreement with the lumberyard and needed to have, I believe, 3 or 4 parking spaces taken from them. And the deal was we were going to give them on the other end, up Park Boulevard. It's going to be a trade-off, but it took a while to get that done. That's all been taken care of now, so.
Well, the lumberyard's no longer the lumberyard going forward anyway.
We'll see what it is. I'm sure it'll be developed,
Yeah.
but I don't know what it is or when. It's Zone C2. It's likely to, my bet would be it's going to be some form of a, it's zoned for C2, which means you can put stores 5 feet from the curb. It's supposed to be like a downtown area, so. But you can't just put a parking lot there, which I know Cape May tried to do one time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not an acceptable use. It'll likely be stores on the first floor, condos on the second. That's just a guess. I have no inside information, don't know anything about it. I just know what it's zoned for.
Yeah. Good gossip, though.
No, please, not gossip. That is what it's zoned for. That is the type of thing it can go there. That's how I make sure everybody hears that up there.
Big brother.
Any other thing from the committee members want to bring up as far as the topic goes, or before we have public comment, which is probably not going to be extensive? Okay.
I have a question. How's it going in getting additional committee members?
So we had.
We're a little light.
Yes, we could use, I know that we had worked to get additional committee members over the course of the year. I mean, we're continuing to, people that are listening to this live stream right now, if you are interested in joining the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, please express your interest to the city clerk. So we have put information out there to get interested residents to be on the committee. Can continue to do that, but here's where we are right now. I would say this, there's other committees in Cape May as well are not fully staffed at this time. So as far as with the number of members, so it's an ongoing endeavor, George.
Well, what we know the same, I mean, we have the same in our borough. We have, most of our commissions are completely full. We've added some new people. During an election campaign, it's great because you talk to everybody and you find out, you talk people and they're interested in certain things. So we used to have a few openings on some of our committees, and I know the same issues that you guys face. It's hard to get people to commit the time. I know a lot of people are interested in what happens, but it's hard to get them to commit the time. So that's kudos to you guys that are all here, which is great.
Yeah, and I've had some conversation with Steve and with the Mayor Mullock about this, and I have a little bit of a personal preference. One is, I'd like to see a female here as opposed to us all white men. Well, some of us are old. And also, I'd like to see it be a resident of Cape May, so that we report to the city council. And actually, I've approached 2 women in Cape May who I think would be great committee members, but they also have them too busy. They're already volunteering on 3 or 4 different organizations, nonprofit organizations, primarily. So I'm out there looking for at least one more person to bring on board sometime in the next several months.
What's the preferred number of committee members?
Pardon me?
What's the preferred number that you want?
I don't have a preferred number.
Standard?
I think an addition of one would be very helpful
We had
at this
six.
point in time.
6 currently?
Yeah.
I think we had 10 when I first.
Well, there's 5 voting members, because Steve is a non-voting member.
Actually, I'm a voting member.
Oh, you are?
On a committee, I'm a voting member, yes.
Oh,
Commission,
okay,
I'd be
pardon me, I didn't
I'd
think-
be non-voting.
Okay.
So, yeah, but, yeah, look, I think that, I believe that the city has 2 vacancies at this point in time. So, yeah, that's where we stand.
I actually thought about this a little bit because, I mean, obviously, we have a pretty strong representation and have always from West Cape May, which is great. It's great for us.
Right.
Do you think, I mean, this is this blue sky. Would it be advisable to have a island-wide committee and then subcommittees for each of the towns? Because one of the discussions we've had in this meeting is that, and Steve and I have talked about this because I had some people in West Cape May that were interested in joining again, and the focus was on Cape May, and I get it, this is a Cape May committee, but would it make sense for us to have a larger group, well, not larger, but an island-wide, looking at the whole issues of the island, and then each town has a couple of representatives to go back to represent for their town? And that way, because in this group, I mean, we have West Cape May, Cape May,
Lower Township.
Cape May. So we already have that in essence. I try not to weigh too much in on the issues specific to Cape May, because they're your issues. I mean, if I have some knowledge, I can help. But maybe we'd look at it from a different angle, and maybe people would want to be on that committee, the bigger committees, looking at the whole island and how it works together. And then the Cape May subcommittee could be this committee and go to talk to Paul and the council here. We could have two West Cape May people, they could go just talk to our commission. Just an idea of how to look at this, because we're so entwined. Everything that West Cape May does affects Cape May in terms of bicycle and pedestrian thing. Everything that Cape May does affects West Cape May. It affects Lower. It affects not so much the Point, but it would be good to hear their opinion on things, because their people come to Cape May, and how do they get here? Some come by bike. So, I mean, just an idea, because that when we had the grant to do the whole island, I think that spirit of camaraderie amongst the towns was good. The thing with GPI, just floating it there, just not looking for discussion, just saying that's another way to look at it.
Yeah, I need to give that some thought before I comment on it. The thing about this committee is it has a reporting structure up to city council for Cape May City Council. There's no island-wide top-level organization that I know of that looks at island-wide issues. Every community looks after their own issues, even though there's partnership, like with the bridge. So I just don't know how official. Maybe it's an unofficial island-wide committee that's builds off of what we're doing here. I got to give that some thought.
Does West Cape May, have you thought about having an independent
Yes.
committee? And are you forming one? Or is it still,
I'm bringing
is it an
this-
idea, or, I'm not putting you on the spot.
No,
George.
no,
I'm just
no,
trying
no,
to get a handle, because I know these are issues that are important for,
I think that there's a lot of
West Cape May.
interest in our town because we have the through road going down Broadway and roads that tend to get a lot of traffic, a lot of bike traffic, a lot of e-bike traffic. So there's a lot of interest. I think that if we did form a committee, we would have no problem getting volunteers for it. I think you would agree on that. I mean, I think if I said, hey, we're going to form a committee, we'd have 10 people tomorrow. We have held off on it a little bit we did talk about the idea when you guys told us, hey, look, we're going to try to focus this group more on Cape May, which I find fine. That's not a big deal for us. We enjoy being on it because we want to hear firsthand what's going on, and if we can add input and see how some of the projects we want to do dovetail. Are we going to do a committee? I just threw that idea out there as a way to look at the whole island picture, and we would have a subcommittee in West Cape May too. So as we're trying to formulate the idea on what's the best way to serve our community, the whole community on the island. So.
Yeah, look, I would need to think about it, more as well. I guess, my initial thought is particularly, look, we're talking, I'm looking at it from the Cape May's standpoint, looking from West Cape May's standpoint, but I think we're all looking at it from a global standpoint. The issues we're talking about, they're very fluid between the two towns anyway, and we are addressing those, and I think in a very productive, manner. I think what you're saying is, do we just kind of increase the scope a little bit?
Or formalize the whole idea that the mission of a group, maybe it stays this group, but the mission is to actually, is a Cape May group since they're the dominant player on the island. But it focuses on the whole island, and then there's a subcommittee that goes, and that's, in essence, that's kind of the way it's working now.
Yeah, so I think I appreciate you raising the topic. I think it is something we'd need to have a little bit
Yeah,
more thought.
I'm not asking for answer. I think about these crazy things all the time, and if I shared all the ideas that pop in my head during the day, you wouldn't want to be here. But this is one, obviously I'm pretty passionate about getting people around safely. And whether you're driving a car, a motorcycle, an e-bike, a golf cart, anything, and it's all our problem. And it's all our opportunity to fix. So for me, it's like we're all in this together. We couldn't have done this idea of having a pedestrian bicycle bridge, even though we spearheaded it, without Cape May agreeing to support us on this. So those things came out of this, out of this meeting, which is great. So I'm not suggesting we form our own group and disappear.
And I'm not suggesting that either. I'm just curious because only from this standpoint, when you talk about bringing, the idea would be a voice for each community there. So to me, the way to do that is you start bottom up, in that regard. So if it were, and again, we're just having a conversation here. I'm thinking if there's people in the point that have issues that they want to address, you start talking locally. West Cape May, I'm sure you have these conversations all the time. That start locally as well. Something that we can think about. So, and for those that are listening here, look, this is, to a certain degree, at this point, this is a think tank type of thing. We're talking about different ideas, different concepts. So everything that we're talking about right now is just that. We get a lot of work done just by bringing up ideas, and some of them end up going somewhere. Some don't necessarily. But I only mention that because I know people listen into this and they say a committee or a commission is going in a certain direction. It doesn't necessarily mean that as well.
And thanks for clarifying that, and I 100% agree. And I wouldn't have brought it up, but I think this is important. It's a big topic on everybody's mind, a lot of people's minds here in all the towns. And it's in the forefront of the people that I speak to in the public. And it's certainly a topic that should be discussed. One of the issues with government is you have ideas, and this is a forum to share ideas here. This is not we're saying we're going to do this. This is
We're an advisory group.
This is an advisory group. I mean, we feel, I think the takeaway for the public is that we're passionate about this, and that we want to make sure that we're doing the best thing we can for our overall community, Cape May, West Cape May, the point, and lower on this side of the bridge. That is the point of this particular discussion.
Right. And just to throw another idea out on top of that, is at the township level or lower, and the the whole school community, that at least there's an organization there. It crosses the bridge, yes, and they have some similar issues. I think one of the big issues as far as e-bikes go is all the high school kids and junior high kids on the other side of the bridge who parents are giving them e-bikes and without much training, much education, et cetera. So, that may be just another avenue to consider, the lower township, including Cape May, West Cape May Point. I guess the Villas is included in that, out towards Rio Grande. Anything else? Okay, do I hear a vote to adjourn the meeting?
Make a
Anybody?
motion to adjourn.
Second?
Aye.
Okay,
Yeah.
consider the meeting adjourned. Do we have a little homework to do? We're going to go see the city manager and meet again on February, what do you say it was, the 11th? 11th. Yep. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
This is Park View on Third Street. Yep. And you're looking up there, that's Grant Street right up there.
Can I keep this?
Yeah, across the street. Yeah, where the walkway is. I think it's a seafood takeout now.
Yeah. Oh, my God, they changed.